Not even Cobra Kai is scandal-free, and both the cast and the crew had to deal with quite a lot. Misinterpretation of Japanese culture. Hollywood has a very long history of taking its Japanese audience for granted, and people were outraged when Cobra Kai creators did the same. It all started when Oyama Peerless, who's a native Japanese, pointed out in her tweet about the very obvious mistakes on the set of the show. She said that the language written on most props were absurd and made no sense. In one scene, when Daniel and Anthony are walking past a rock, there are a few words written on it in Japanese. But Oyama revealed that these words say, "Envy will show you a rockless garden." Most of these words make no sense throughout the show, and it turned out to be a huge scandal when other Japanese viewers also chimed in. Viewers weren't happy with how the show presented Japanese culture and how there were hardly any Asian characters in the series on the show. It soon became a fully blown controversy, and people were furious. They felt offended and insulted because the creators couldn't spare a few moments to get the English sentences translated into Japanese by a native speaker. Instead, they just decided to throw in some random words that were most likely translated by Google. Oyama also wrote in her tweet that she's so sick of this misinterpretation still happening in 2022. Hundreds of Japanese fans retweeted her because what she was saying felt very relatable to them. Besides, Cobra Kai is a show that Japanese audiences love, and such misinterpretation on the show is absurd and doesn't really make sense. That's why it sparked such a huge outrage and became a fully fledged scandal. The crane kick. 3 decades ago, a tournament between Daniel, played by Ralph Macchio, and Johnny, played by William Zabka, took the world by storm. It was when Daniel won the championship in The Karate Kid, but with a very illegal and sudden crane kick. It sparked controversy because the referee clearly said before the tournament that any blows to the head are completely illegal. So when Daniel hit Johnny in the chin, it basically was a blow in the head, and it was only fair to eliminate Daniel. Fans were actually furious at Ralph for this move because it wasn't fair to just let Daniel win the tournament because of an illegal loophole. Ralph Macchio accepted that the crane kick was kinda illegal because the referee clearly said it, but that kick was what made the finale so iconic. Also, people were having high expectations when comparing the tournament to real-life karate. And in under 18 karate, you can't really hit someone straight away because it could cause some serious injuries. So instead, what you do is just attack them without touching. This rule is to show that you can actually kick someone in the face without actually kicking them. But the film has broken a lot of karate rules, and fans weren't happy about it. The actors were constantly taunting each other, which is considered a violation. Also, Johnny pulled a stunt on Daniel's knee, which is also illegal. So the viewers surely didn't like the way Ralph Macchio won the tournament. Faulty techniques. Most martial art professionals often complain that Cobra Kai promotes faulty practices of martial arts. Even though the show presents great taekwondo moves, half of them are very impractical and can never be used in a real match. Real fighters don't wear any jewelry, and they always wear a mouthguard. Plus, rivalry in real-life tournaments isn't considered great. That's because martial arts is considered a sacred sport, and no one is allowed to pollute it with their off-the-ring rivalry. Also, we often see the fighters having elaborate competitions out of the matches, which really is not the case in real life. Even though comparing a show to reality isn't fair, people who respect martial arts really notice these differences, and most of them aren't really happy about them. Real-life rivals. William Zabka has turned out to be a pretty empathetic character now, but initially he was pretty violent and kind of a villain in the show. Fans were quick to ask whether Zabka is similar to his character Johnny Lawrence, and does he share any violent traits? Zabka once clarified and said that he doesn't share similarities with his character, but then he talked about an incident that sparked quite a controversy. Even though the actor thinks that he's not a violent person, this story says otherwise. He recounts an incident when he was still a teenager and he acted rashly, which he often relates to his Cobra Kai character. He was a wrestler in high school, and it was one tournament where he qualified for the finals. He was really pumped, and then he saw the kid who was going to be his opponent. So Zabka followed him throughout the gym and stared at him and tried to intimidate him. Even though that turned out to be the wrong guy, fans weren't happy about how Zabka reacted and that he has violent tendencies. Since this confession, there has been an uproar of criticism against his character. Only recently, we actually got to see the world with a villain's eyes, and Zabka managed to get back his position as the good guy. All-white cast. Cobra Kai is constantly called out for having an all-white cast. Even though there are a few Asian characters, the main cast is white, which doesn't really make sense. Fans aren't completely on board with the show hardly having any Asian representation. The show failed to introduce new and diverse characters initially, and famous writer Jen Yamato said in the Los Angeles Times, Cobra Kai has yet to cast an Asian lead despite running for 3 seasons. It's basically a show based on Eastern and Japanese tradition, and yet the 3 leads are all white men. There was a Latino character of Miguel, but other than him, all the people of color or Asians were out of the main cast for quite a while, which doesn't indicate diversity at all. Also, people are now pointing out that in the first 2 seasons of Cobra Kai, we hardly see any Asian representation. They have included characters like Yuji Okimoto and Joe Seo in the new seasons to make it a little more diverse, and both of them have important characters. But fans also now want to see people embracing martial arts on the show, not because they're exhausted and done with the system, but because it's a part of their tradition. We would love to see some proud Asian actors who actually want to be part of their sacred history. In addition, the show is made by an all-white cast too, so it's a little difficult for the people of color and for Asians to resonate with the characters. During a time when diversity is so important, we're yet to see an Asian lead in one of the most famous shows of all time. The creators have finally acknowledged the issue and have said that they're aware of all the criticism. They also clarified that when it comes to cultural elements, they go to the original screenwriter for Karate Kid and stunt coordinator who knows Japanese culture and values. But fans still aren't completely on board with the Cobra Kai cast because it's a show based on the idea of Karate Kid, which is mainly about Japanese tradition and culture. So having 1 or 2 Asian characters in the cast doesn't make sense. A sadist character. A huge uproar took place on Twitter when Martin Kove, playing John Kreese, revealed that he sometimes feels like his character has become a part of him. We all know how sadist and violent Kreese is on Cobra Kai, so it made fans wonder if Martin is also the same. And Martin gave an answer that started off as a simple statement, soon became a fully fledged scandal. Martin revealed that even though his villainous character from the show is always inside of him, he knows how to control it. He said that after working on 3 Cobra Kai movies and several Cobra Kai seasons, John Kreese has become a part of him. He said that even when the character stops rolling, he feels like he's still playing his iconic character of a sadist. Martin also confessed that he often goes to eat ice cream, and if the store is closed, he feels furious and the rage is pretty visible from his eyes. But then he controls himself and suppresses the urge to become John Kreese. So it's great that Martin still hasn't completely turned into his character, but fans are speculating that his obsession with the show might soon transform him into John Kreese. Dark inspiration. Cobra Kai often seems a little light-hearted, but most people don't know that it was inspired by Oz from HBO, which is dark and borderline violent. Creators of the show have even said that there would be no Cobra Kai without Oz. Even though the show creator, Schlossberg, is a master of making things dark, even he wasn't as good as Oz, and that's why they watched the HBO hit several times before filming the 4th season of the show. But what's so scandalous about this inspiration is that Oz is one of the most controversial shows of its time, and taking inspiration from one such show would only mean that Cobra Kai was on its way to becoming a lot more violent and possibly a little graphic. So some fans really didn't like this idea because Oz was a little too violent. But the creators soon clarified that they took inspiration to improve the storytelling of Cobra Kai, and they really like the way the plot is tied together in Oz. The creators obviously needed to work harder on their storyline because now they're working with Netflix and things are seemingly in their favor for now. So their story also needs to be top-notch, and for that, they're doing everything they can. So what are your thoughts about the Cobra Kai cast of Season 5? Tell us in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.